That's right, guys. You saw it correctly. Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Cloud is coming out in JP, so I know a lot of you guys are gonna be excited for this. Let's get into it right now. Oh, wait, he's not just Advent Children Cloud. He's actually a CG unit as well. Well, let's roll that footage.
大切じゃないものなんかない。思い出の中でじっとしていてくれ。
So that might seem pretty familiar to a lot of you guys. It is very familiar if you've watched the Advent Children movie. It's pretty cool, and stay where you belong in my memories, pretty much there. So let's get into it. Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Cloud. I know a lot of you guys after this video, this is going to be the unit that you're going to be saving up for. A lot of Cloud fans out there. Or you just want a really ballin' damage dealing unit. Let's look at this Tmr Materia here. His TMR, 60% attack, 30% limit burst damage. Obviously in global, I'm going to go above and beyond and say this is not going to stack, but it is very powerful. It's like you know, War Goddess's insignia from Asura, but with 60% attack instead of 30. Still incredibly powerful materia for limit burst damage and attack at the same time. His STMR is a one-handed, as you can see from his sprite, he's a dual-wield unit. One-handed greatsword, 190 attack, 50% limit burst damage. This is pretty cool. We've seen a lot of one-handed swords like this. Is a one-handed greatsword, but we've seen a lot of one-handed weapons that give limit burst damage, high attack, limit burst damage, and dual wield in the form of like radiant lightning. We've seen 11's Super TMR one-handed sword with limit burst damage on it. This is a one-handed greatsword, 190 attack with limit burst damage. So that's where it kind of stands out from the rest of them. Whether or not you actually need to get this when this comes out, who knows? Who knows? It also gives you the passive. I think this is a first Ami / version 5. I think that's what that is going to translate to. The first Tsurugi. I'm pretty sure this is probably, I don't know. I think his sword was called the first Tsurugi in Advent Children. Who knows? I can't remember. But his chaining frame family, you can see Stardust Ray and Octaslash. I know Octaslash, right? Octaslash in 2019, going into 2020. His weapon selections, you can wear swords, great swords, and maces. His armor selection, he's got hats and helms, and then everything but robes, pretty much. So clothing, light armor, and heavy armor there. Let's get into his kit here. Let's go in here. So his first skill, 60% defense break with a low multiplier, 1 hit, 4.5 multiplier. His next one, 3 limit burst gauge to himself, 3.6 to all enemies, so nothing really crazy there. And then we start getting right into his non-dead skills, pretty much. He's got a earth-based skill, 4.8 multiplier with 80% earth imperil for 5 turns to 1 enemy, and Earth Imbue on himself. And this is going to be the Stardust Ray chaining frame family, which is pretty popular and pretty prevalent in a lot of the future damage dealers there. So that's going to be amazing to have access to. And then he's got a light based version, so it's going to be a light imbue and an 80% light imperil. He also has a way to give himself a 500 HP barrier if that's something you desire. And this skill is also a 1-hit skill with a 5.5 modifier with a north 50% defense. So that's going to be right away 11.0 chain finisher. And if this does get any sort of multiplier increases, it's going to be doubling down on those. So that could be a relevant move, although you may not really need to use that. So moving into his 2 primary chaining skills that aren't cooldown skills, is going to be version AC. We're going to call it version AC here. He's got a couple version ACs, but this is the one that we're going to call version AC, Octaslash AC. The first 7 hits are going to be a 1.0 multiplier to all enemies. Then that last 8th and final hit is going to be a 7.0 multiplier to all enemies. This is going to get multiplier increases, and because it's divvied up into 2 different parts like that, you're going to add those multipliers to each part. His next one is going to be Stardust Ray. The first 9 hits are going to be a 0.5 multiplier, and that final 10th hit is going to be a 10.0 multiplier. So a 10.5 base, but just like the Octaslash AC, any sort of multiplier increases that this skill is going to get is going to apply to both parts. He does have dual cast naturally at 6-star. And then moving into his 7-star kit, you can see he's going to have a bunch of skills here. His first one's going to be a 6-turn cooldown, available on turn 1. It's going to give him a 250% attack buff for 5 turns, a 150% limit burst gauge fill rate buff for 5 turns, a 50% limit burst damage buff for 6 turns to the caster, And then we're going to increase our modifiers by 3.0 for 5 turns to a bunch of his different spells. You can see the Octolash AC skill in there. You can see the Stardust Ray skill in there. So those are going to be buffed up quite a bit there. And he's going to unlock triple cast for 5 turns as well. And then we get into these skills here, the first, second, third, and fourth versions of these skills. As you can see here, they don't need to be used in order, but they do different things, and they all cost Limit Burst Crystals. So the first two are going to both cost 10 Limit Burst Crystals. This first one is going to be a 21 times multiplier to one enemy, Stardust Ray Frames, and it's going to increase the multiplier of his other Stardust Ray skill by 2 or 3.0 for 2 turns. This cannot be dispelled. His second skill here is going to be the Octoslash skill. It's going to be a 23 times multiplier, and it's going to increase the modifier of his Octoslash AC skill by 3.0 for 2 turns to the caster as well. Now, moving into his third skill here at 7-star, or his fourth skill, his cooldown skill here, 4-turn cooldown available on turn 4. It's going to be a 30 times multiplier to one enemy, increase limit burst damage by 150% for 3 turns to the caster, and then on the next turn, at the start of your next turn, it's going to auto cast another 38 times multiplier to one enemy as well. So very powerful skill here, 68 times multiplier over 2 turns, giving you 150% limit burst damage. That second turn, if you're firing your limit burst off, you're going to have huge bursts of that turn, because you're going to be doing that 38 times multiplier for free, and then you're going to be using your limit burst again. So with 2 Advent Children crowds like yours and a friend's maybe, that's a lot of damage all in one turn. And you get that 150% limit burst damage buff. Absolutely insane there. His second to last skill here, the third version, is going to be a 31 times or 31.5 times multiplier to one enemy. Increase the multiplier by 5.0 for 2 turns to his Stardust Ray main chaining frame family skill. So you can go ahead and use the third in the first in 1 turn. It's going to cost you 30 limit burst crystals, but you're going to get an overall 8.0 multiplier increase to the Stardust Ray skill up here. So it's going to be an 18 here, and this is going to be an 8.5. So 26.5 multiplier to just spam out the next turn with presumably triple cast, if that's something you want to do. So he's got big burst damage, and he's got good DPS as well due to that. Now his last skill here, 33 times multiplier to one enemy. Increase the multiplier of the Octoslash AC skill by 5.0 for 2 turns as well. Can't be dispelled. So you can kind of see what he's getting into. He uses these big skills with his limit burst gauge if you want to go ahead and get some consistent damage out by, go ahead and firing off the second for the 23 times multiplier, and then the fourth by a 33 times multiplier, and then it will increase the Octoslash skill by a total of 8.0 total. Or you can do, the first and the third. So these 2 limit burst gauge crystal costing skills. You use the 2 Stardust Ray skills, and then on the next turn you can triple cast the main Stardust Ray skill, or the 2 Octoslash skills, depending on if you want to do AoE or single target damage. The Stardust Ray will do a little bit more due to having a slightly higher base multiplier. If you want to do AoE though, you got the Octoslash there as well. And that's if you want to do good, consistent general damage. Or you can go ahead and do the big burst damage, which we'll talk about with his limit burst, which, oh my goodness, looks pretty powerful. His passives here, Spirit MP plus 20%, Recover MP 5%. He does have natural dual wield, thank goodness. He has physical magical killers for humans and machines by 75% as 2 separate skills. He gets 3 limit burst gauge crystals per turn. At level 45 star, he gets defense and HP plus 20%. Limit burst gauge fill rate 100%, and then another 75% healer, man eater, and machine killer. So 150% total for those 2 killers. Absolutely massive there, especially for humans. Machines there's a couple big machine fights for sure. We'll probably see more in the future. He gets 40% attack, 50% true dual wield attack, 30% attack, 30% MP, and then another 100% true dual wield. So that's 150% in just those 2 passives there at 6-star. And then he's going to have 30% attack, 30% spirit. He's going to be immune to blind and confusion, confusion is the most important status ailment to be immune to as a physical damage dealer. You don't want to be popping off and just, one-hit KOing anyone on your party. He gets 10% limit burst damage, and then he has a chance to counter physical and magical attacks with some counters that we'll get to. 30% defense, 30% HP. He has a 100% chance to ignore fatal damage when his HP is above 5%, so always very nice to have there. Max 1-time proc. His Super Trust Master / Trust Master activated trust ability is attack and HP 50%, defense and spirit 30%, limit burst damage 25%, and then auto cast a buff at the start of the battle or being revived, and upgrade your limit burst. So you're definitely going to want to have his TMR or super TMR for this. There's just way too many stats, way too much limit burst damage passive, and then the upgraded limit burst, you're definitely going to want to have access to that. He auto casts this skill, which we'll get to after the start of the battle or after being revived. So that's going to be something else that's nice for him to have access to. And he has 20% MP, and then the final passive, 30% attack, and then a 5.0 multiplier increase to a bunch of his skills there. As you can see, the version Advent Children skills, and then 15% limit burst damage. So he's going to have plenty high multipliers there for a lot of his version AC skills, as well as his other stuff. So pretty powerful. Let's go ahead and double check real quick which ones these are. If this is going to be his main Octaslash version AC, then it's going to be pretty good, pretty powerful. It does look like it's going to be the main Octaslash version AC skill here. It does get 5.0, so the Stardust Ray one as well. So that's going to be a 10.0 multiplier increase to base to both the Octaslash and the Stardust Ray, because it's 5.0 per each. That's going to make those absolutely massive when you're firing off the first, second, third, and fourth skills, like the first Stardust Ray, the third Stardust Ray, and then you use the buffed up Stardust Ray. All those multipliers are going to stack, which is absolutely nutty. And then finally, the 15% limit burst damage will take the limit burst damage up to a 50% total if you have the trust ability activated there, which is amazing. And then we'll get into the conditionals here, activated by the auto cast. Increase the limit burst gauge by 5. That's going to be the counter, I do believe. Then he has got the unlocked triple cast. He's got his triple cast right here. He is a CG character, so he's going to start with a full limit burst gauge as you get into the battle. So you're going to be able to fire off his limit burst right away. You're going to be able to fire off his cooldown skills and his first, second, third, and fourth versions of the Octaslash or Stardust Ray skill to get that damage going out right away, because you're only going to need to fire off 2 of these. 2 Stardust Rays is going to be 30 limit burst crystals, or 2 Octaslashes is going to be 30 limit burst crystals. Just start doing massive damage right away if that's something that you want to have access to there. Then he's going to have access to activated by version 5. What is going to be version 5? That is his limit burst. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Omnislash version 5. We can auto-translate that one day. But here's what it does. You cast the limit burst, costs 40 limit burst crystals, increases limit burst damage by 100% for 1 turn to the caster. So even if you don't have a limit burst damage buff up, if you don't have that 150 buff from his cooldown skill up, when you go to use a limit burst, you're going to get that LB buff. Same turn guaranteed before you do damage. Then it's going to be a 34 times multiplier with ignore 50% defense. It's a 68 base times limit burst damage multiplier. It is a 5-hit skill. And hopefully you'll be able to finish this quite easily. It's not going to be like the Kingdom Hearts Cloud and Cloud limit burst where he comes in with like Omnislash and just, it spends like a half a year and you can't fit it all into a chain. Hopefully this will be fast enough. There's no frame data here that you can finish that. That'll be insane. And then it's going to enable skills for 4 turns to the caster, which we'll go over. We just skipped. And then enable triple cast as well for 4 turns to the caster. Very, very powerful. The skills is going to unlock here. It's going to go ahead and increase a resistance to attack break by 100% for 3 turns of the caster. It's going to give you back 20 of your limit burst gauge when you cast it. So it costs 40 and it gives you 20 back when you cast this skill. So if you want to go ahead and power out your limit burst again, you can, as you can see, triple cast this. You can limit burst the next turn, cast this 2 times, and then cast a damage dealing skill. Maybe use the cooldown to get the 150% limit burst damage buff up, and then limit burst again if you are so inclined to do that. You can just every other turn limit burst, which is absolutely insane. And then the other thing that you can cast here, if you're going for more consistent damage, you can restore your HP and MP by 50%, so you can get that MP back. Also heal yourself a little bit. And then also get another 4.0 multiplier increase for 2 turns to the caster to pretty much all of his skills. So he's got a lot of a kit. Let's break it down real quick. He's got the ability to do burst damage. He's got the ability to do nice ramping damage as well. Consistent damage if that's your thing. I like how you can use just his limit burst gauge crystals to kind of do whatever you want. So you have the Earth Imbue, the Earth Imperil, the Light Imbue, the Light Imperil. If you want him to imbue and imperil for himself, he can do that with Stardust Ray. And then he's got access to both AoE and single target damage. The AoE damage is actually going to be really good due to the fact that this can get multiplier increases out the butt, right? You can go ahead, you have the 5.0 passive, you have up to 8.0 from the Octaslash second and fourth skills here. So that's 8 right there plus 5 from the passive. That's 13 right there, and then you have the ability to get another 4.0 right here. 17 multiplier increase to either one of these skills. And remember, it's going to apply to both parts. Let's be a 34 multiplier increase onto the base of 8. So you're looking at a 42 times multiplier AoE damage with Octoslash. And then it's going to be like a 44.5, I do believe, single target damage for Stardust Ray that you can triple cast. That's a huge burst damage in one turn if you're so inclined to use him in that way. You can also just go ahead and do big burst damage with his limit burst if you're so inclined. Now remember, he is a true dual wield unit. The one thing that you can see here that he does not have, the one thing, no 6 times multiplier cap that I can see. We never ran across 6 times multiplier cap. So that is the one thing he does not have there, which also means that maybe if you have insane true double hand gear, maybe that's the way you want to build him instead, because he's not really benefiting from dual wield at all, really. He's no 6 times multiplier cap on the dual wield. But you'd have to have insane gear for true double hand. You're taking him from 0% true double hand to 300% true double hand. But if you could do that, then you'd really be talking about some big damage. And so I'd be really interested to see someone hit a build like that with true double hand on him. I know he's got a lot of true dual wield, but I'm not seeing a 6 times multiplier cap increase here for our man CG Cloud. And if he doesn't get it from like the EP Awakening or anything in the future, maybe he'll get it when not Advent Children, but when FF7 Remake comes out or something crazy like that. That would be insane. But if he doesn't get it, then there's always the fallback of building him true double hand if you have the gear for it, hitting that 300% true double hand cap, and really doing damage with him there. So he looks pretty awesome, man. You have the limit burst here. He starts out with a full LB gauge. You can use him however you want. You can every other turn limit burst for big consistent damage, or not big consistent damage, but big burst damage, take the enemy down in chunks with that. This nice 100% limit burst damage buff. Every time you LB, you're guaranteed to have that. Plus, he's got 50%. He's got 50% limit burst damage in his kit. The base multiplier is gonna be 68 times multiplier. If even with just the 100%, you're gonna double that. You're going to double that. It's gonna be over 100 times modifier, and that's foregoing the up to 50% from his passives that he does have. So this man is looking pretty cool, pretty powerful. Let me know what you think about Advent Children Cloud down below. Do you have the gear to build him true double hand, make him everything ever in the world, hit that percentage cap of 400% while hitting 300% true double hand from nowhere? Did you pull an 8AK parody? Are you ready for the 8AK parody to make Cloud #1? With the Stardust Ray and Octoslash. See, I was ready for Noctis and Madame Adele, and then Advent Children Cloud might be the one after that. I know I want Alexander Charlotte. Advent Children Cloud might be up there. He's just cool, man. He's just cool. Look at him. Like, he's just so cool. But if you want to see more stuff like this, guys, go ahead, hit the sub button, turn the notification bell on, help the channel out, leave a like, put your comment down there, let YouTube know that the channel exists. You guys are all fantastic people. Thank you guys for the Patreon support out there. Help me out here building this channel, man. It's a fun time. It's a good experience. Always out there hashing out in the comments and hanging out on twitch.tv and all that good stuff. If you want to see Lucius and Lilith enhancements and all the stuff about that, I did put that out before this video, so go ahead and check that one out too. But until then, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Also, happy Halloween.